All right, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us to the Healing Arts. Wake up and live to the Healing Arts. I'm Judy Allen, one of your co-hosts, and my partner, Sue Johnson, is your other co-host. Our Healing Arts podcasts are oriented toward the total full spectrum of presenting to you ways and tools that you can use to facilitate your own healing. Today, we have Mr. Vince Brancaccio from Help Network of Northeast Ohio. Sue, would you continue on?
Sure. Welcome, Vince. As I was telling Judy, it took a minute for us to connect, but glad to meet you. Glad you're here.
Thank you. And
Because,
thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
well, yes, because we were seeking um, organizations that focus on mental health issues primarily for our project, which we believe will be funded by Cuyahoga Arts and Culture.
Nice.
And it's about it's a three-pronged project where one, we interview mental health professionals such as yourself. Two, we ask performing artists to show how their music, their poetry, their dramatic words, things of that sort can help people feel better. And the third component of this project is about performing stage readings of plays which deal with mental health issues. So at the Help Network, tell us what is your primary focus? Who do you serve and what kinds of things do you offer?
Good. Help Network of Northeast Ohio has been around for 52 years. And throughout those 52 years, as the name says, we are a helping organization. What we're mostly known for is we are the suicide crisis hotline for 4 counties: Ashtabula, Trumbull, Mahoning, and Columbiana counties, 24/7, 365. Most people know us as that. We also are the 988 provider for those 4 counties. So as you may know, this week is the 1-year anniversary of the introduction of 988 nationally. So 988 is that national suicide hotline that is being promoted across the country as the 3 easy to remember numbers.
And this is, excuse me for interrupting, but that 988 number is now the number like 211 that people associate with if you have a crisis.
Great. And that was a good comparison. So yes, that 988 number now has been adopted nationally as the suicide crisis hotline. We answer that call in Mahoning, Trumbull, Columbia, and Ashtabula. If we can't, we have backups within the state and within the country, but we try to answer at least 90% of those calls. But I'm glad you brought up 211 because we are also the 211 for Ashtabula, Columbiana, Mahoning, and Trumbull counties 24/7. But we're after hours for Lake and Ashtabula counties. So not only are we a 988 provider, suicide hotline, we are also an INR provider. And I was sharing with Judith earlier, there are 19 suicide crisis hotlines in the state that answer 988. There are 13 211s in the state. The 211s technically are not suicide hotlines. And 988s technically are not INR lines. We Help Network, where we are unique, we are one of 4 of those 33 that do both. So somebody, and I always use this example, somebody should call and say, look, I'm done. I don't want to live anymore. My utilities are about to be shut off. I don't have any food in my house. I might as well die. We go, whoa, time out. Where do you live? What's your zip code? Hey, do you realize there's a food pantry literally right around the corner from you? Or you know what, Catholic Charities or one of these other social service organizations, they have funding to help you with your rent. Oh, well, wait, if that's the case, no, I don't want to kill myself anymore. That's where we're unique. But we also work with the homeless. We have staff who literally go out on the streets, Mahoning, Trumbull counties, under the bridges where homeless people congregate, and we try to engage them and try to get them connected with mental health or substance use services, because we find many of them have those types of issues, as well as housing. So that's another service we provide. We provide peer services. We provide guardianship and rep pay. So we're not just the suicide hotline and or a 211, but we do a lot of different things as a social services agency in this area.
How do people find out about your services? I mean, do you do a lot of public service announcements or pass out flyers or go into churches or other community shelters?
I like the fact that you mentioned 211, because 211 is also a national number. And so the fact that you knew that, many people do know that number 211 as the place to call to get help. And we answer that number. But we also do marketing and we promote the program, whether it's going out and doing speaking engagements, having opportunities like this where we get to do podcasts or interviews. I've done many television and radio interviews over the years. We also do print media where we'll put out print ads and stuff just to show people, hey, we're here. Our tagline is "Help is here." And so, yes, that's how we get the information out. Now, I could tell you, knowing, nonprofit, we don't have this large marketing budget. So a lot of it is word of mouth, and a lot of it is opportunities like this where, we have the ability to sit on these types of interviews, and hopefully, they get out there and more people learn about us.
And be sure to share this interview with your constituency
For sure.
when it becomes available. Now, out of curiosity, you're located in Trumbull, Mahoning, Greater Youngstown, whatever. Do you have any referral contacts in Cuyahoga County that if people watching this interview in Cuyahoga County, other than 211 and 988, do you refer people to resources in the Cuyahoga County or Summit area as well?
And that's the beauty of, and I'm going to use the term network, our network, and the networks across the state. So our resource directory, we have over 1,500 resources in our resource directory. So if you go online and put in helpnetworkneo.org, if you don't want to call 211, the resource directory that our staff use is the same resource directory we share online. So they can go on that resource directory. Some of the resources that we have in there may be, I'm going to use that, may be related to other areas outside our coverage area.
Okay.
And if somebody calls us and they don't, and they're from, Cleveland, or they maybe have a family member in Cuyahoga, we can lead them in the right direction, saying, hey, look, here's whose resource directory you want to look at, and give a website. For example, Cuyahoga counties. Now, I could tell you Frontline is the 988 provider for Cuyahoga County, and Cuyahoga County, United Way of Cuyahoga County is the 211 for Cuyahoga.
For general information.
For general information.
Everything. Yeah.
The other thing that's being worked on, this is just as an aside, right now, United Way Worldwide is putting together what's called a national data platform. I'm actually involved in that. And what we're trying to do is connect everybody's resource directories across the country, so that people could go on a website such as United Way Worldwide's and go on there and then look up information across the country. It's not done yet, so I'm not putting it out there to say
in progress,
but it's in progress. I can tell you Ohio was one of the first states to sign on with the national data platform to include all of our data in that directory. And I know United Way Worldwide is working hard to get every state to get on this.
Now, question, do you find that you tend to deal with one type of crisis issue more so than the others that your organization offers? Does there seem to be, like I say, a kind of a major attack?
And that's a great question, and I'm going to tell you why. Because many people ask me, what's happened since the pandemic? If you would ask me that question prior to the pandemic, most people needed concrete, what I call concrete services. They needed help with their utilities. They needed help with finding food. They needed help with those types of resources. Post-pandemic, I think it's safe to say that now we're finding many people who call are struggling with mental health issues and substance use issues because they've been isolating for years, for 3 years. They've gotten depressed. They've gotten anxious. They're still scared. And so many callers are calling and saying, hey, look, I think I'm having issues with my mental health. I need help. And so what we're referring them to is our providers of mental health services, such as, for depression or anxiety. Let's be honest here. We've been traumatized by this pandemic. So some people are struggling with trauma and post-traumatic stress due to the pandemic. There's others calling us and saying, hey, look, the past 3 years, I've been coping by use of alcohol or drugs. And guess what? Now I think I got a problem. So we're referring them to substance use treatment providers. So that's like number one right now. And then we're getting into, again, those other concrete things where people need help financially to help with their bills, finding food, and those types of things.
I'd like to jump in. We only have a few minutes, but Vince, would you tell us more about your personal experience of using the arts, but a special form of the arts to keep yourself centered and in the moment?
Boy, do I appreciate that question, because this is right up my alley. So besides being a social worker, my master's degree is in social work, and I've been in this field 34 years, going on 34 years. I'm an LISW with the supervisory designation. But the other thing is, many people don't know about me, is I'm a martial artist. I've studied the martial arts actually longer than I've been a social worker. I've been in the martial arts for 38 years. And I was sharing this with Judith earlier. People say, well, martial arts, karate is a sport. And I'm like, no. Martial arts is an art. And it takes a lifetime to practice and hopefully perfect, although there's never perfection. So I've been studying the martial arts for 38 years. And I think the martial arts has helped me immensely in my career, because social work and this type of, and I'm the CEO of our agency, very stressful. And I think having those arts, the martial arts behind me, practicing, helps me to stay in the present. It helps me to stay in the moment. I was sharing with Judith earlier how I do my forms, and you can't see my hands, but I'm doing my punching and kicking. I do my forms. I practice at least once or twice a week, going through all my forms through black belt. Those keep me grounded. Those keep me focused. And it's my mindfulness, because the way I look at this is, when I'm doing those and I'm practicing, I'm not thinking about the agency and worrying about what's going on at work or things that are happening in the family. I'm able to stay grounded. And that's my opportunity to give my brain a break and allow me to then recenter and refocus. So that's my experience with the arts, and I use that as my example. But I truly say I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the martial arts, if it wasn't for studying and having that as a way to decompress or have something to fall back on. And so I hope that helps. I hope that answers it, Judith.
Terrific contribution. Thank you so much. Sue, I turn it back to you.
And, mentioning the martial arts, we hadn't quite considered that topic as something we could add to our repertoire of offering folks about different ways that you can work on feeling better. Do you practice? I mean, they've got 3 gazillion types of martial arts nowadays. I grew up with Kung Fu. That was it. Yeah.
So that's Chinese.
Yeah.
I study Japanese, which is called Shotokan karate.
Okay. Now, do you happen to teach it as well?
Yes, I used to. I say I'm retired now, but I had my own karate school at one point in my life and had a number of students. It was my side thing that I did. This has always been my career, what I'm doing right now, social worker. But yes, I had my own school and I taught Shotokan karate.
Okay. Now, let's go back for just a minute. Judy, how's our time for today?
We've got about 7 minutes.
Okay. I just wanted to share when you were talking about the role of the pandemic.
Mhm.
Judy and I started this project based on her and my conversation about the pandemic and what it set up, which Judy's ideas led us to create this healing arts project because of the pandemic. And so many people to this day are still feeling the, the after effects,
Yeah.
one way or the other. So we hope that our approach, that three-prong approach I mentioned to you earlier, offers some different ways that people can work on feeling better in non-clinical ways.
Right.
Now, we certainly want people, when they're able to go to doctors and medical professionals, and hopefully everything that you're doing and we're doing helps reduce the stigma attached to mental health issues. It's gotten a lot better
Mhm.
over the years, and particularly because now you see commercials addressing the topic. When I grew up, you kept mental health stuff in the closet.
Yes.
I don't know about your generation, but
Well, I was sharing with Judith, I'm the second generation of two Italian immigrants. And
okay,
I always used to tell people my parents are proud of me and proud of what I do, but they don't understand what I do because my dad would say, that's great that you're helping other people, but we don't talk about these types of things. We don't talk about depression, and you just, you get over it. You get over it. And I'm like,
right.
Dad, there's people that need help, and there's people that need outside help, and you gotta be open about it,
Oh,
and of course he had certain words that he would use that were probably not the best words for people with mental illness. And I had to educate, the both of them that,
mhm.
it's just that it's an illness,
Just like
just
any
like
other
any other
physical.
illness, diabetes, heart disease, can't,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever that illness is.
Now, can people contact you directly at a phone number, an email address? And not everybody had, believe it or not, not everybody has a computer these days, but almost everybody has a cell phone these days.
And
But are there direct ways to reach you, your organization personally?
I keep it simple. Dial the number 211.
Okay,
If you're having thoughts of suicide, 988. If you're having need information or referral or support, 211. And then we also have a warm line, and that number, if you call 211, they can give the caller that number. We have staff who are what's called peer support staff who have lived experience, and they work on those lines from 4 to 10 Monday through Friday. And I always use this analogy: the hotline, which is our crisis hotline, is meant for people who are in crisis.
okay,
It's not meant to be sitting there and doing, just sitting and talking. What's the issue? Let's talk it through. What do you need? Let's get you that resource. But our warm line are staffed by individuals with lived experience. They can sit and talk for a half hour, 45 minutes, and just talk. They're not going to do a suicide intervention. They're not going to provide information referral. They're just going to be somebody who's going to listen. So
listen.
we also
Yeah.
provide that service too.
Okay, well, listen, we're about out of time, but we want to thank you so much. I
Thank you.
was not personally familiar with the Help Network of Northeast Ohio, but as we now do Google everything, but
Yes.
when we looked you up, I was happily surprised to see the range of services that that Help Network of Northeast Ohio offered. So you are to be commended for
Thank
the
you.
work you're doing. And I hope that you have a good success rate. And we're going to look forward to seeing you again in the future. So we want to thank you very much on behalf of Judy and myself for being our special guest.
Well, thank you.
Up and Live with the Arts
I
about
appreciate
Healing
it.
Arts Project. So we want to wish you have a great day. Judy, do you have anything to close us out?
No, just to invite our listeners to return again and join us again for the Healing Arts, and to thank our special guest, Vince Brancaccio of Help Network of Northeast Ohio. Vince, you know what? We'll talk some more, and perhaps you can come back and really talk in a more extended fashion about the martial arts and healing. So
I'd be
we'll
happy.
keep that in mind for the future.
Thank you.
And anyway, on behalf of my partner Sue and myself, we thank you, our viewers, for joining us today for the Healing Arts. Thank you so much.